good thing about resolutions is they're at the beginning of the year, which means you've got a clean slate and a good place to start. What I can give people advice on in terms of sticking to those resolutions is that you need to start easy. Don't start with hectic things that you won't be able to maintain. Start easy. Start with something you can do, with goals that you can achieve. And as you achieve them, grow from that point onwards. I can't stress enough how important your health is. Your health is the reason why you can engage with the next person. It's the reason why you can play with your kids. It's the reason why you can live longer. It's the reason why you can have a good time on the dance floor even. Your health is important. You have only one vessel to get through this life. And if you don't take care of it, what will take care of you?
Well, the secret to better health is exercise indeed. It doesn't matter whether you're 9 or 90 years. Now, regular physical activity is the right thing to do. Now, there's enough scientific evidence that shows that exercise can enhance your health and well-being and can even extend your life. Now, you may have resolved to do the right thing and start an exercise program in this new year. And perhaps you may be asking yourselves questions such as, well, do I have to join a gym? Will I avoid gym fees? Are there any other cheaper alternatives? What exercises can I do at home, at work? What if I don't have time to exercise? What and how much should I be doing a day, a week? Now, is exercise safe for everyone, including children and the elderly? Well, these and many other related questions will be addressed in today's show. Today we discuss exercise and health. And we're joined in studio by a sports physician from Wits University, founder of Pop-Up Gym, a fitness and wellness enthusiast who initially struggled with exercise and weight loss but overcame the challenge. We also have a cardiologist who will be joining us on the line from Pretoria. Now, our guest panel today will share practical steps on how you can start and maintain a regular exercise program for the whole family, including the busy individual. Now, be part of the show by asking the panel some questions or simply just sharing your views with us. The number to call is Johannesburg 714-5861 or 5877. You can also tweet us at SABC Health Talk or simply interact with us on our Facebook page, SABC Health Talk. So sit back, relax, and learn from this bumper show coming to you just after a short break. I'm Dr. Seloma Daung, and this is Health Talk.
And a host of events that will...
SABC ex-journalist Tumi Sidumedi explains how and when she started with her fitness journey.
I really was enjoying my career as a journalist, but along the way I discovered fitness. And the more I went to the gym and I was working out, the more fulfilled I became. And people started responding to me the same way I was feeling. I mean, I'd be at the gym by myself doing my routine, and people just step up to me and say, "Can I work out with you?" Before you know it, people were actually approaching me to train them.
As much as she got fulfillment from the gym, seeing her sister's health worsen encouraged her to become a personal trainer.
My sister got sick, was bedridden and unconscious, and I was looking at her, and I just felt bad for her, and I thought I'd never want to be this powerless. And I thought the best way to start to avoid that situation for myself is to ensure that I'm healthy and I'm never in that position. Anything could happen, but at least I have the control to make sure that I'm healthy. So I started at that point, and it just got better from there for me.
Tumi got a lot of requests from different clients with different needs. And according to her, some would come with impractical requests.
People approach me because they want a six-pack, they want a smaller waist, they want this and that. I find those very shallow reasons to start working out for, because ultimately your heart is much more important than that.
She also comes across a lot of misconceptions when it comes to exercise. She encourages her clients to learn the 80-20 rule.
Just because I work out and I work out regularly means I can eat whatever I want to eat. Total misconception. Your diet has to match the workout. The diet is more important than the workout. They say it's 80% what you eat and 20% what you sweat. It really is true. If you're not prepared to change your diet, you might as well forget, because the body needs it all.
cheat days are popular amongst fitness enthusiasts. And instead of going out to buy junk food, rather prepare the food yourself. That is according to Dumi.
Even on your cheat days are those days when you feel like I've been good enough for the past 30 days, I've been eating clean, I've been working out right, I feel like I deserve something really nice, like junk food, like a piece of cake, like a burger and chips. Prepare that in your own kitchen, because what you get from the stores has way too many preservatives already.
Social media has been buzzing with people making health resolutions, and for the first timers, Dumi encourages them to continue and to never stop.
You can do it. You just have to want it bad enough. You just have to know that your health is that important for your long-term life, health goals, and everything else. It is important that you hit the gym, hit it regularly, and do it for your health and nothing more.
Our health is important indeed. And here to help us, unpack the subject of exercise and health is our two special guests that we're going to start with. The first is Dr. Mamusilo Dichaba, who's a sports physician based at the Center for Exercise and Sports Medicine at Wits University. Welcome to Health Talk, Dr. Dichaba.
Thank you, Doc.
All right. And we also have Letshego Zulu. Now, Letshego is a biokineticist and founder of Pop-Up Gym, and there's a whole lot of other things I can say about her, but perhaps for another show. Welcome to Health Talk, Letshego.
Thank you so much, Dr. Selo.
All right. So perhaps let's start from the beginning. Before we start talking about exercise, let's talk about lifestyle. Perhaps let's start with you, Letshego. We often hear people talk about an unhealthy lifestyle.
Yes.
Just take us through what that means.
Gosh, for me, an unhealthy lifestyle is one where you don't really take note, firstly, of what you put in your mouth.
Right.
You wake up on a daily basis, you've got no plan for breakfast, lunch, and supper, and you essentially allow anything and everything down your throat.
Right.
And on the other side of things, an unhealthy lifestyle is one that finds you sitting 90% of your day.
Right.
We should be moving.
Right.
So
right.
for me, that is an unhealthy lifestyle.
And I'm sure you'd agree with that, with that, Doc. Eh? But why do we have to worry about an unhealthy lifestyle? Are there perhaps conditions that are associated with an unhealthy lifestyle?
An unhealthy lifestyle is exactly that. It is a lifestyle that will make you more prone to health problems.
Right.
And we can look at health problems in two ways. We'll look at health problems from your physical well-being and from your mental well-being.
Right.
From a physical well-being, let's look at it in two ways as well. Let's look at your, what I call your engine, which will be your medical aspects, your heart and your lungs and your important organs.
Right.
And then let's look at the wheels and the tires, which is your locomotive system, your musculoskeletal system.
Right.
So both those systems are going to suffer if you expose them to an unhealthy lifestyle. And then once they suffer, your whole livelihood is going to suffer, and your wellness is going to suffer. So your quality of life is going to suffer.
So I mean, and then are there specific conditions then? I mean, you've outlined, the importance, obviously, of, as you very well describe it. Are there any specific conditions? I mean, we hear, for instance, the issue around obesity being a major problem in our country. Any other conditions associated with that?
Almost all your systems are going to suffer.
Right.
So we'll start with the main system. Let's talk about the heart. If you do not exercise, you are at very big risk of being ill, but also of dying.
Right.
And I just want to demystify this. If you don't exercise, or you sit a lot, or you lie around a lot, you are at increased risk of being sick and dying independently. When I say independently, I mean it's not because when you sit you're going to get fatter or your blood pressure is going to go high. Independently, just sitting alone or lying around alone or being sedentary or not moving makes you prone to premature illnesses and premature death.
Right. And I'm sure you'll agree with that, Letshego. I mean, people talk about some of these ill health, these conditions that we're talking about, starting to affect younger individuals, right up to children. What's your experience?
Sure. Well, personally, I've been physically active since the age of 8. And for me, it was essentially what they call monkey see, monkey do.
Right.
My mom was a very active person. And for me, growing up and seeing that prevented me from, ending up with these non-communicable diseases,
Right.
such as, the high blood pressures, and the doc can mention the rest of them, but, and high cholesterol and all those daily, illnesses that many people who are sitting around not being active and not eating well are ending up with.
Okay. So we've obviously spoken about the general risk factors for all of these conditions, and the risk factors that we've picked on being inactive lifestyle and perhaps, inappropriate nutrition, let's call it that, because when we start talking about bad nutrition, it may not sound okay for a lot of people. But are there other people that are, any other risk factors for all of these conditions, perhaps, that, are important to mention now?
Yes, we spoke about heart conditions. Most of your cardiovascular system is going to suffer.
Yeah.
You'll be at more risk of strokes. You'll be at more risk of what they call heart attack.
Yeah.
But what is important is that that is obvious.
Yeah.
But even cancers,
Right.
certain cancers, you will be at more risk of them.
Yeah.
Your mental disease, but even your orthopedic system.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'll be more unable to move.
Right.
You'll be less independent if you cannot move, and you'll be more prone to injury if you just lie around. Because what happens is if you lie around and you do not exercise, you actually accumulate fat, but you lose your body supporting structures.
Right.
So the body likes stimulation. So for your muscles to grow, you need to stimulate them. For your bone to consolidate, you need stimulation. So if you do not exercise, your muscles do not grow strong.
Okay, we've spent enough time talking about disease and ill health and so on. Let's come back to our topic for today, exercise. What are the mental benefits of exercise?
Oh, goodness. I always use myself as an example.
Right.
I'm one of those that gets up in the morning and I go for a 10-kilometer run at 5 o'clock in the morning because it literally just opens up my mind and prepares me for the day. A lot of us tend to hold on to the stresses of the day before. And for me, what a quick 5 or 10-kilometer run does for me on a daily basis is just to clear the mind and prepare me for the new challenges of the new day.
Right.
So mentally, it increases your sharpness. It increases your focus as well. So,
And you're better able to deal with stress, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
And I've dealt and cleared yesterday's stress.
Right, right. What about on the medical side and physical side?
On the physical side,
Yeah, the benefits of regular physical activity.
obviously, we have already mentioned the risk factors.
Right.
So automatically, if you exercise, you are going to decrease the risk factor.
Yeah.
So you are going to make yourself less vulnerable to getting those medical conditions.
Yeah.
You will not die unnecessarily early.
Yeah.
You'll live longer. But the main thing is that the quality of life that you are going to lead is much, much better.
Yeah.
Because you don't want people just living long. You want to make sure that they live good quality life.
And Letseng, I'm going to ask you to just explain to us what we mean by exercise, because we've been using the term exercise.
Yep.
But before that, I believe we have Anna on the line from Kimberley. Anna, welcome.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Anna. Do you have a question or comment for our guest?
I have a question to the doctors.
Yes, ma'am.
I used to gym a lot. I was working at Virgin Active.
Yeah.
So now I leave because I had 2 children with seizures, and I removed my womb. And now I'm starting to gym again. I'm getting very, very, very problems because I'm blacking out when I'm starting to gym, because I'm not gymming really a lot, but I like to do the fitness every morning.
Yeah.
And then afternoon, I just gym with my children around the block. But when I come home, my breath is too short and I'm getting a pain on my left breast.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, thank you very much for that, Anna. I'm going to give it to you to try and, respond. Obviously, we're not going to be able to, diagnose people and treat people over the air, but just general principles in terms of, you know, what people should do when they experience these kind of things. Yes, sir?
Okay. Firstly, what's important is, when did Anna start exercising? What was the gap between having the children and going back to exercise? If I understood well, she says her uterus was removed.
Correct.
What's also important is that when the uterus was removed, they remove her ovaries as well. Because the chemical lab for the woman's hormones is the ovaries. Because that will also impact. What I would suggest to Anna is that before, maybe retrospectively, before she even went to exercise, she should have consulted her doctor, and had a good medical checkup.
I think that's an important principle we'll carry throughout the show, that, you know, the importance of getting medical clearance before starting an exercise program. But for now, time for a quick break. When we come back, continue our discussion on exercise and health. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking exercise and health with our guest, Letshego Zulu, who's founder of Pop-Up Gym, and of course, she's a biokineticist by profession. And we're now joined by another special guest, this time around, Janitor Khumalo. Now, Janitor is, she's a fitness and wellness enthusiast and entrepreneur, and she's doing a whole lot of other things. And it's a great pleasure to have you on our program. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Absolute honor to be here.
All right. Okay. Now, before we come back to you guys, we have someone on the line who's Dr. Musa Mayisa, who's a cardiologist, and joining us now. Dr. Mayisa, welcome to Health Talk.
Thank you, Dr. Sillo, to you and the guests and the rest of the viewers.
All right. Now, as you might have heard when we started the program, we're talking about the benefits of exercise. I mean, we went through what an unhealthy lifestyle is and, you know, what the benefit, how exercise can reverse some of the risk factors that we spoke about. But in a very small percentage of cases, exercise can be a risk to certain individuals. Do you perhaps want to take it from there?
Okay, no, thanks. I did look a little bit at the rest of exercise and the art, because that is predominantly what we see in our practice. Yes. So basically, there can be pre-existing cardiac conditions and those without. I studied those without pre-existing cardiac conditions. So basically, when you are starting to be of age, maybe let's say about 40, and then you're starting to go along in years, and then when you start experiencing chest pains when you're exercising, and then it becomes more significant when the pains persist when you stop to exercise, or when they come in when you're sitting at rest. Then you need to get out before eating. And then shortness of breath as well is the same principle. If you get shortness of breath, it's just minimal exercise, or when you're just sitting, or when you're sleeping, then that also suggests that there could be something that is significantly going on there. And then the collapse, I'm talking about collapse, blackout, and that type of thing. Then it tends to happen. And then we also have to not really scare people unnecessarily. There a bit of chest pains, a bit of difficulty breathing, or feeling a bit dizzy when you're exercising, especially if you're not used to it. It can be normal for you and yourself in the beginning. So you probably need to be able to just listen to yourself and see whether these symptoms do resolve when you stop exercising. That is the most important thing. And then I also say, if you've got a pre-existing cardiac condition, definitely you do need to go see somebody. And then also, I also need to highlight something important, that please, not everybody must look at their heart and think that they're going to die when they exercise, because it's very, very short percentage of people who really run into problems. Like, for example, in 2019, there was more than 19,000 people who ran combat marathon. Only one reported death on an elderly male. So it's not very many people who really die. And then I also want to support the initiative that you guys have started, that people need to join the movement of healthy diet and exercise, and then we're going to have a healthy population.
Yeah, thank you so much for that message, because I think it's important to make that point again, emphasize the fact that, you know, these risks are very, 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 very small. It's only a tiny minority of people that will suffer from these conditions, such as a heart attack. But the important message, again, is that before starting an exercise program, you need to ensure that you get checked, and cleared by a medical professional to ensure that, you don't suffer from such. And of course, as the cardiologist has mentioned, if you do exercise regularly and you experience any of these symptoms that the doctor explained, like, suddenly you become dizzy or you collapse, do not ignore that. Please go and see your doctor. Back to our studio now to talk about, perhaps let's start with Janitor. Janitor, we said when we introduced you that you struggled a little bit, in losing weight and starting an exercise program, but you overcame that later on. Just take us through your challenges and when did you start realizing that, listen, I think I'm overweight and, took that decision that now I must start something?
My wellness journey started in 2017.
Right.
I always say that it was one of the single most life-changing experiences I've had. I was depressed.
Yeah.
I was experiencing anxiety, insomnia. I was not in a good mental space. And of course, I did what most women do, as well as most people do, turn to food when you are feeling down. And of course, that led to me gaining almost 15 kilograms of weight. Okay. I was not happy. One day, looked in the mirror, could not recognize the woman looking at me, not just physically, but internally. Normally, I'm strong, outgoing, fun, and just a very, very confident young woman. And I couldn't see that lady. And I made the decision that day that I need to reclaim my power back and I need to start living my best life and optimally.
Right.
I started out with running, as with most people do. We don't have access to gyms most of the time. We don't know what to do. And running is the first thing we all turn to. And I started out doing that. And a friend of mine decided to join me on the journey. We eventually managed to find a trainer because we did not know what to do in the gym as well. Yeah. And from there on, we started training regularly, tweaked our diets really to a more nutritious and more fulfilling diet, as opposed to one which has highly processed food, which also have a lot of calories. Which
Well, it sounds like you were well informed then and highly motivated as well. But you say that, you started with running.
Yes.
And you got someone else to join you.
Yes.
That obviously helped you, keep that habit.
So one of the key things that I always say when you're trying to start a wellness journey, get an accountability buddy. Yeah. An accountability buddy is that friend that's basically holding your hand that will motivate you to keep on doing it. Yeah. Starting out is extremely hard. And going into a gym, just for example, where everybody seems to know what they're doing and you're just there and there are these buff men by the weight section that look intimidating. Yeah. Most people that I know end up going in, go on the treadmill 5 minutes and end up leaving again because they're scared and they don't know. Yeah. Always say, get a friend, do it together, and more importantly, especially with regards to exercise, if you have access to a gym, start with a class. A class, less pressure to know what you're doing. There's an instructor who will also help you in correcting your form. You meet other women that are on a similar journey and it becomes more of a social thing, which really prompts you to come even more. So those are the key things that I always say when you're trying to go into fitness to advise to do. Yeah.
All right. Let's just come back and talk about this now. Now, some people watching this program would never have done any form of exercise before.
Exactly.
And they might say, okay, look, I'm prepared to start doing something now.
Yeah.
But, I don't, gyms are quite expensive.
Yeah, of course.
What can I do? How do you encourage people or how do you advise people to even start? Janitor obviously was well-informed and highly motivated, but not too many people are.
Yes. So one of my mottos for Pop-Up Gym is that you can train anywhere, anytime.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be in the gym. Yes, a few of us, a small percentage of the population can afford a gym membership. Right. They are expensive, but the gym can literally be in the studio right now. We can just move this table and start having a full-on exercise routine right here. Right. So there's a lot that one can do in their living room at home, in your back garden, on the stoop. And you don't really need much besides comfortable clothing.
I spoke about motivation. How do people motivate themselves?
That accountability buddy.
Right.
Can I add on to what Little Herschel said?
Sure.
I mean, what she said is absolutely brilliant, that start with small things, like she said now. Instead of usually taking the lift, take the stairs and walk more, 30 minutes, walk the dog, or you go for a brisk walk, or you can alternatively go for a hike. There are many outdoor things you can do in nature which are for free. There are running clubs, and also there are home workout apps that you can download. There's YouTube, there's so much information that's out there, and it all starts with you wanting to make a better decision for your life. It's not easy. You have to do a bit of your research, of course, see the relevant practitioners, but you need to decide and understand that you need to empower yourself to do that, and that comes through you investing your time as well as your resource into it.
Right. So perhaps the easiest form of regular physical activity is walking.
Exactly.
Yes.
Get a comfortable pair of tackies, go for a walk. You know, you can start off, if you haven't exercised for years, start walking around your own house. Or the block of flats where you live. And once that starts becoming comfortable, then walk around the block. You know, get that friend that will hold your hand and do it together.
And then, of course, before the break, we spoke a little bit about, you know, some simple exercises that people can do. Say, this person has started walking now.
Yes.
Are there any other forms of exercise that people can do, simple ones?
Yeah, I mean, for beginners, I mean,
and by the way, you're welcome to demonstrate.
Maybe I'll keep my heels on, because I also, you know, if people are in the office, I always say you can even do these exercises as well. So if you've got a chair, you can either be sitting at home or at the office, and you can do a basic squat, which is what we do on a daily basis as people. You know, my 92-year-old grandmother, I demonstrated a squat to her, and she squats as well. And it's as simple as getting up and sitting down. So if, you know, so
people might ask, so how many times must I do that?
You know, when you're starting out, don't pressurize yourself. If 10 is what you can manage, that's what you can manage for this week. Next week, aim to add more and more and more. So it actually starts off with comfortability. If you can manage 20, you know, on your first go, great. Keep that up. And next week, add another 5. So, you know, something as easy as a squat is a great, you know, lower body exercise. For the arms, you could do tricep dips. So if I can just show you, you get a chair, you put your arms there, and you do tricep dips. Very easy, very basic. I know social media is one of those places that can pressurize people, because people are doing, you look at Juanita's page and they're doing intense exercises. You don't have to be that intense. You can build yourself up to getting that intense, but you know, basic exercises like squats, like tricep dips.
And anybody can do that.
Anybody.
Even a 92-year-old.
Even my 92-year-old grandmother.
Good. All right. Well, time for a quick break, and Janita, thank you so much for sharing the wisdom with you. I'm sure we'll have some more, you know, a lot more time to discuss a few of the projects that you're involved in.
Thank you.
Otherwise, thank you so much. Okay, time for a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion on health and exercise. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking exercise and health with our guests, Letsogo Zulu and Dr. Mamusilo Dichaba. So one of the questions that perhaps you may ask yourself is the safety of exercise around children, and perhaps, you know, how you can encourage children to be physically active. And ladies, I'm sure you'll agree with me, we're having a serious problem, and this problem is really becoming more of a massive, massive one. Our kids nowadays are inactive because of a whole lot of stuff, you know, the social media, the gadgets that they play around in. Let's talk about, perhaps before we start talking about, you know, what exercises they should be doing, from a medical point of view, what should parents be doing to ensure that it's safe for their children to partake in physical activity?
The first thing, you cannot manage something if you cannot measure it. So my thing is, before people exercise, there has to be a proper assessment. People should go and have a proper medical assessment. The medical assessment should include all parts. There should be a physical assessment, there should be a mental assessment, there should be a psychological assessment, there should be a musculoskeletal biokinetic assessment, but most importantly with children, there must be a play assessment, there must be an environmental assessment, and there must be a caregiving assessment. So what I mean is that in the history, when you are evaluating the child, you need to understand the environment from which that child comes from, because that will speak to the safety of the child, but it will also speak to how you are going to recommend to that child. The care is very important. The first thing you're going to do when you assess the child, you need to know the age of the child, because different recommendations will be influenced by how old the child is. And caregiving is very important insofar as the age of the child is concerned. You need to understand the caregiving of that child, because most of what you're going to interact with or recommend to will be to the caregiver based on the age of the child. You need to understand the social dynamics of the child. You need to understand the family dynamics of the child. And I know you may say these are not technically medical, but they're probably even more important than the medical aspect of the child.
Sure. So essentially what you're saying is that parents have a responsibility to ensure that at least they consult a professional who'll assess all of these things that you mentioned. So how then can parents, encourage physical activity for their children?
Parents need to be active themselves, because our kids look up to us. Like I said earlier on in the show, I typically use myself as an example because I know myself that well. I started taking my daughter to my running and cycling events so that she can see mommy active. And as soon as she was able to, partake in physical activity, I enrolled her in swimming classes, for example, because drowning amongst kids is one of those, big things. So I started her before she turned 1 with swimming lessons. And something as simple as running around. Run to the park or walk with your kids. If you are sedentary, your kids will end up being sedentary because then they don't understand the importance of exercising. When I go to the gym, I take her with and she sees mom exercising. I bought her a bike because mom has a bike. So it's one of those things where obviously it's all dependent on what you can afford, and if the only thing you can afford is going for a walk, then take your kids for a walk. So that they can see that this is a normal part of living.
What about little games that you can play with your child?
Absolutely,
in the garden?
absolutely. You have a ball, kick the ball around, play a bit of soccer, play a bit of netball with the girls. So you can be creative as parents and use your own backyard or the street or whatever it may be that you have access to.
We'll come back to the role of these gadgets on the parents themselves, that they teach the young ones. But let's take Sandile on the line from Cape Town. Sandile, welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
We're good. How are you, Sandile?
I'm good. Thank you, man. Sorry, man. I would like to ask a question. I had a gunshot on 2006.
Yes.
And then I had an operation in my stomach. To take out the bullet.
Yes.
So the problem is now I would like to have a sit-ups and do the exercises, but I'm scared if maybe the operation can break up here inside. That's fine if maybe, because I would like to have a six-pack.
All right. So when was the operation, Sandile?
The operation has been done in 2006.
2006. So it's quite a while ago. Okay. Thank you very much for your question. Let's give it to the experts.
I want to imagine, firstly, how old are you, Sandile? Is Sandile still on the line?
No,
it would be important for us to... How old are you, Sandile?
I'm 38 yet.
5'8"?
38.
38.
38.
Oh, okay. All right. The operation happened a long time ago. Sandile needs a proper medical assessment, but based on his history, I don't think the operation is still an issue. Because I would like to imagine that if the operation was still an issue, from so many years have passed, something would have come out. Nonetheless, Sandile still needs to have a proper medical assessment and a proper biokinetic exercise. But I think Sandile should just exercise.
His fear is that if he starts doing abdominal exercises, there might be something wrong that goes,
And I think a lot of people make that misconception that you get your six-pack from abdominal exercises. So as the doctor just said, Sandile needs to start moving in the first place and implementing a healthy diet, and he will see changes.
You're actually making a very good point there, and I'd like to come back to that, because people have these misconceptions around, what exercises can do. That you need to tone your abdominals and have a six-pack or tone your whatever else. But let's come back to the issue of children. And the responsibility of parents now. Nowadays, parents have 3, 4, mobile phones, iPads, tablets, and all of that. They spend 90% of the time looking at these gadgets in front of their children. What's the danger to the kids?
That the kids will, like I said, it's monkey see, monkey do. So what the kids see the parents doing, that becomes the norm around the household. So as parents, we need to take that step and take charge of ensuring that our kids are physically active by being active ourselves. Even buying something as simple as a skipping rope, you know, skip with your kids, a hula hoop. You know, the basic things that that you can do in your home. And if a skipping rope or hula hoop is too expensive, then, you know, with access to those apps on our phones, there are exercise or aerobic exercises that you can do, from jumping jacks to, you know, things that you can do at home with your kids. So, you know, you don't have to enroll in this big or complicated training program, but you know, it's very important that our kids see us as parents active, because they look up to us and they want to be like mom or dad.
And of course, you can control the time that they spend,
exactly.
as it were, limit screen time, as it were. But the one important thing that I mean, we cannot afford not to talk about it, is the whole notion around nutrition, the importance of nutrition. You know, we can talk about exercise on the one hand, but nutrition is just as important. In fact, one of the clips that we played, somebody spoke about 80-20, and you, in fact,
I said 50-50.
You prefer 50-50.
Absolutely.
Just elaborate on that.
You know, I think that for me, it's a misconception to say it's 80% diet, 20% exercise, because then you get people that will sit at home and be sedentary and eat well. It's really not doing much for your heart. And as the doctor mentioned earlier on in the show, so I prefer that it's 50-50 and it's more balanced. Move as much as you follow a healthy eating plan. And with regards to kids and healthy eating, the chips and the sweets and, you know, all those not so healthy foods get bought by who? The parents. The parents, yes. My child is turning 5 this year, and her preferred beverage is water, because that's what I give her and that's what she sees me drinking at home. But she'll go and visit grandma and she'll see friends consuming other beverages, and it's up to her. But in our home, that's where I control these things. So
I think we're going to leave it here for now. Time for a quick break. We come back, we continue our discussion on health and exercise. And yes, look at what the busy individual can do to incorporate an exercise program. Please stay with us. Okay, welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us and listening to experts talk about, you know, exercise and health. Before we continue with our experts, we have 2 callers on the line. We'll take them one after the other. The first is Ntepeng from Midrand. Ntepeng, welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Ntepeng.
Hi, how are you?
We're good. How are you, Ntepeng?
I'm good, thank you. I would like to ask, how do one exercise, especially when you're pregnant, in your last trimester?
I'm not sure if I got the question clear. The line isn't very clear. Is the question, how do you exercise when you're pregnant?
Yes, especially on your last trimester.
Last trimester. Okay, very brilliant question. We'll come back to you. Thank you so much for that question, Ntepeng. Let's take John from Bucksburg. John, are you there? Is John with us? No, we'll come back to John. Excellent question there. Exercise during pregnancy, and she wants to know how safe it is for exercise, especially during the 3rd trimester of pregnancy. Anyone can take it.
It all depends on whether she was active prior to her pregnancy, and if she, you know, kept a regular training program throughout before she fell pregnant, and also when she started becoming pregnant. And then she needs to also sit and ask herself the reason behind wanting to exercise in the 3rd trimester. Because it's definitely not a time to be trying to curb any weight gain. But if she's doing it for her health and for
just maintenance.
Well, you don't really maintain much in terms of exercise, but just, you know, blood flow and just keeping the systems and your engine functioning. You know, when it comes to exercise in the 3rd trimester, and I was pregnant a good 4 years ago, so I would remember, you need to make sure that you are not overexerting yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot at play. You're carrying another human being. You know, there's a lot more blood flow that's required to the baby,
Right.
you know, and you don't want to put the baby in any danger whatsoever.
Right.
But also, you know, you need to make sure that the choice of exercise that you do take is nothing that is too, you know, hard on the body. Right. So you won't be running a 5 or 10 kilometer run at that stage. Right. But, you know, the safest thing really is walking.
Absolutely.
But also ensuring that you're not raising your heart rate too high. Right. Yeah, Doc, do you want to add anything?
Right. I think from a medical point of view, we need to look at, we have to make sure that the patient is comfortable. We have to make sure that we avoid a hypotensive episode. So you have to be careful with your
blood pressure.
Yeah. You have to make sure you don't increase that temperature, like she said, so you need to look at your heart rate. And one of the other things is to remember relaxin. Relaxin is a hormone that makes the ligaments loose. So you don't want to be too stretchy in your therapy, because that's when relaxin is at its highest, because we're getting the body ready for the opening up.
For the process of birth.
So those are the precautions. And then the other thing, you want to make sure that you don't lie the patient down, because obviously the tummy is big and it's going to obstruct the venous return.
Yes. Lying facing up, in other words.
In the supine. You also cannot lie the patient down on their stomach.
Yes.
And also you do not, you also don't want to do abdominal increasing pressure, abdominal pressure increasing exercises.
Correct.
So those are the specific
there's a lot of
things
considerations to take
look
when
out
you're
for.
pregnant.
And to add on to that as well, avoid exercises above your head.
Right.
Because you want to avoid dropping your heart rate.
Absolutely. I believe John is back with us on the line. John from Boxbeck, welcome.
Yes, this is John, and John is 54 years old.
Okay, welcome, John.
Yes, John has got two questions.
Sure.
One is that whenever I'm on the treadmill, it would read from the initial stages 137, and then up to 165 when I'm doing intensive, during the course of the exercise. And I get scared when it's there, and then I go back. So what would be the limit, maybe the maximum, for me in a treadmill or a skywalker?
All right.
That is question number one.
All right.
Number two.
Okay, just before you go to number two, are you talking here about heart rate? That 167 is your heart rate?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll come back to that. Okay, your next question?
My next question is that John is also diabetic.
Yeah.
John is also diabetic.
Right.
64 years old. And the doctor is giving me, these weight loss tablets and all that, but they're not making any difference.
Okay.
You said the weight keeps on picking up sometimes at some stages. What's best to do? What best exercises?
Thank you so much. Two very excellent questions.
I struggle to
the first one was around the heart rate, and I think it's an important one to start addressing now.
Okay.
He wants to know, he monitors his heart rate when he's on the treadmill. It starts at 137. He feels well, but when he's at maximum, it's about 167.
Okay.
And as he says, he's 64 years old.
Yeah.
So the issue then is, during exercise, what's the importance of maintaining the heart rate, and how can people use heart rate? Those who are able to monitor heart rate during exercise, where should they keep it? Is there a formula that they use to calculate where their heart rate should be?
The general formula is 220 minus your age, which would then give you what your maximum heart rate should be. Right. So if you're exceeding your maximum heart rate, or you're very close to it, and you start feeling discomfort, that's a contraindication to exercise, and you need to then dial it back a bit.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Then the next question was with you, Doc. It's around. He says he's diabetic. People living with diabetes, what are the responsibilities around exercise? And I think his problem is weight. That, how can he lose weight?
The new teaching now in the new literature is defocusing from weight. And there's a new concept called cardiorespiratory fitness. And that has become more important than the actual weight.
So people should lose the scales.
Throw it away.
We are not saying weight is not important, because certain parameters that are spoken to by weight are still used in risk factor assessment.
Right.
Like your body mass index, your waist circumference, your waist-hip ratio. So weight is still important, the centimeters still matter, but now we are looking more at the heart and lung fitness, because that is what is going to influence your cardiovascular risk factor or your cardiovascular wellness. So that is what John should do. John should go and visit his doctor or his biokinetist and go and have an assessment that will tell him where his cardiovascular, cardiorespiratory fitness is. And John shouldn't be too obsessed about his weight. Let me demystify something. If you exercise regularly and you become fit, even if you do not lose a kilogram of weight, it does not matter. If you are so many nice kilograms heavier than somebody who's much, much thinner, and that person doesn't exercise, and your cardiovascular, your cardiorespiratory fitness is better than that person, your cardiovascular risk is much, much better. So we are trying to defocus.
Excellent, excellent. I think, you know, there's so much to talk about. Unfortunately, our time is limited. And before we run out of time, we said we'll focus this segment to give practical tips to those people that say, look, I don't have time to exercise. You know, I wake up very early in the morning to go to work, or I'm a mom that has to make sure that my kids go to school first thing in the morning and then rush off to work, come back, prepare dinner. There's absolutely no time for me to do exercise.
What I say to them, first and foremost, before we become practical, is that 30 minutes in a day is 2% of 24 hours. So you can find 30 minutes somewhere, whether it's after the kids go to sleep at night or half an hour before they wake up, before the busy period. If it means that you're waking up at 4:30 just to get in a little bit of skipping, some push-ups, some squats, then you're definitely a step ahead. Park your car far from the buildings, walk, use the stairs instead of the lift and the escalators. Take water breaks when you're at the office. Every half an hour to an hour, you know, take a walk to the loo then, or to the water cooler if there's one in the office. A quick little 2-minute walk will keep the blood flowing, and ultimately you'll be fitter than.
So there shouldn't be any excuse.
There shouldn't be. Hashtag no excuses.
Some of those exercises that you demonstrated earlier, obviously people can do in their offices.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Absolutely.
Right. And
you can lunge from your desk to the bathroom. You know, put on your flat shoes if you go to the office dressed like I am. And you can literally hashtag train anywhere, train anytime.
All right, okay. Well, ladies, that's all we're going to have time for today. I want to thank you so much, you know, for your wisdom, and I'm sure everybody listening or watching our show would have gained so much knowledge from this discussion. And of course, the important, at least the last thing that you said is no excuses.
No excuses.
Anybody can do exercise.
30 minutes is 2% of your day.
Exactly. And you can be 9 years old, you can be 92 years old.
Exactly.
And for you folks at home, thank you so much for watching. We're back with you again in a week's time. And until then, please be active, watch what you're eating, and stay healthy.